enormous debt to Mexican-American legends. Zorro is a product of Latinx history and experience, and in turn Zorro inspired the superhero genre. Logic tells us then that Latinx culture helped produce the American superhero. The American superhero is not just a product of Anglo-white American culture. The superhero is multicultural. The superhero is, in fact, a product of American diversity. Imagine that. I know what you're thinking, but Zorro is Spanish, right? Not Mexican. True. Zorro exists in the popular imagination as a whitewashed Spanish version of Mexican legends, but the character still remains connected to those Mexican legends. They've just been covered up. It's time they were unmasked. It's taken 100 years for this history, this masked history, to be revealed. I've got the secret history of Zorro. Zorro helped create the American superhero, and the history of Latino-American people helped create American culture. It's as plain and as permanent as Zorro's Z. Part 1. Ghosts. An era can be considered over when its basic illusions have been exhausted. Arthur Miller. 1. The Statue. Research log number 1, Reforma Boulevard, Mexico City, 9:33 a.m. Is Zorro really just fiction? I couldn't get the question out of my mind as I walked the crowded streets of Mexico City. The American writer Johnston McCulley wrote the first Zorro story 100 years ago. He called it The Curse of Capistrano. The pulp magazine All Story Weekly serialized it in 5 installments, August 9th, August 16th, August 23rd, August 30th, and September 6th, 1919. That's the origin of Don Diego Vega and his fictional alter ego, Zorro. Zorro was born in the mind of a white guy from Chillicothe, Illinois. End of story. Or not. I've been on a journey to find the origins of Zorro for the past 2 years. I've read McCulley's earliest stories, devoured the Zorro comic books of Everett Raymond Kinstler, Don McGregor, and Matt Wagner, and seen all the Zorro feature films, from Douglas Fairbanks to the Republic Pictures matinee serials to the spoof Zorro the Gay Blade, and, of course, the Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones reboots, 1998's The Mask of Zorro and 2005's The Legend of Zorro. I began my journey with Zorro already established as a cultural icon. I've been a little obsessed, I suppose. And, of course, I've done my research. Scholarly books and articles piled up on my desk. I was at first skeptical of Zorro's status as a superhero. What superpowers does Zorro have? As I explored the literature on superheroes, I discovered 2 important facets to the question. First, not all superheroes have superhuman abilities. And second, Zorro is more of a prototype superhero, one whose abilities were enlarged in the heroes he inspired. For example, the Shadow, the Phantom, the Green Hornet, and Batman. My investigation into the origins of Zorro also led me to ask myself, is Zorro really just fiction? Because if Zorro was a prototype for later superheroes, could Zorro himself have had a prototype? My research began to suggest that he was based on a historical figure. At first I was dubious that Zorro was anything more than a romantic fiction, but as it turns out, I'm not the only one to look for the inspiration for the man behind the mask. As I studied further, 2 real-life inspirations for Zorro emerged. The first inspiration I encountered was Joaquin Murrieta, a notorious bandido who terrorized Southern California in the days of the gold rush. Tales of Murrieta have been much sensationalized, but many associate him with the